So Rabbi, we're going to talk a little bit about Bein Zmanim, but we're going to ask a couple of questions before, and we'll see how it all ties in. The Gemara says over here, we know there was a story with Chizkiyahu HaMelech that he was very, very sick, and actually he was about to die. We all know the famous Mordechai ben David song, Afilu, Afilu, Cherev Chada, right? Right? So that comes from Chizkiyahu HaMelech. While he's about to die, we all know he didn't want to have children because he foresaw that Menashe was going to come out from him. So Yeshayahu told him, you're finished. There's no chance for you to live. And basically, Chizkiyahu offers a tefillah, and he says to Hashem, please listen to me, because I did the good in your eyes. So Gemara says, oh wow, what did Chizkiyahu do? What did he do that was so wonderful? He finished Shas, he finished Yishalmi. What did he do exactly? Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rav, Shishamach Gula L'Tfilah. That he said, he did in proximity, Gula L'Tfilah, like we do in the morning. Gal Yisrael and Shemoneh Esrei, right? We know in Halacha it's a very big thing to do Gula next to Tfilah. By my, a lot of halachas about that, how so important that is. And that's what he said. He said, Rebbeinu Shalom, please heal me because I did Gula L'Tfilah. And it's like, so, okay, everyone sort of does that. Like, what is so special that he did Gula L'Tfilah? What is so special about that? And why should that be a reason that Rebbeinu Shalom should listen to him? And what Shoel is saying over here, that he did it at Netz, Rashi does not bring that down. That's some Mefarshim say that he davened by Netz. But still, so why talk about Gula L'Tfilah? Just talk about that daven Netz. What does that got to do with anything? So this is what we're trying to answer over here. What is it so special that Chizkiyahu did Gula L'Tfilah? And how is it hinted in the words, Toiv be'anecha asiti? I did the good in your eyes. That could be anything. How is it hinted in the words, Toiv be'anecha asiti? Oh. So we're going to ask another question. In the Torah, there is only one mitzvah that specifically is called Avoida. There's only one mitzvah in the Torah that has the generic name Avoida. What's that mitzvah? Pesach. It says you should do the Pesach for matzah. V'avarta es Avoida hazois b'chodesh hazeh, and do this Avoida in chodesh hazeh, meaning Nisan. So this is the only mitzvah that just has the appellation Avoida without any explanation. Meaning, it says many times in the Torah, serve God, but that's just talking about in generally serving God. But that one mitzvah should specifically be called Avoida, we only find that by Pesach. Why is that so? So we all know that the first Dibur, says the Dibur, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha Asher Tzitzicha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. And we all know what the Rishonim have a huge machlokes. Is that one of the 613 mitzvahs? Many Rishonim hold the first commandment is not a commandment. It's actually not part of the Taryag mitzvahs, and the reason is very simple, because the concept of commandments has to have a prerequisite. What's the prerequisite? That there's a commander. So before you can decide whether there are commandments, you have to have a preamble. You have to have the rules on the ground, and the rules on the ground is that there's a commander, and then we can talk about commandments. Therefore, most Rishonim hold that Anoichi Hashem Elokecha is not part of the 613 mitzvahs. It's actually just a prerequisite to the 613 mitzvahs. And even the Rishonim who say that it is considered a mitzvah, but they all agree that it's just a fact. Because if you look at the statement, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha is not an imperative, it's not a commandment, it's a fact. Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. So even the language lends itself to show that it's not a mitzvah, it's not a commandment. All the other commandments says, don't do this, don't do that, remember Shabbos. Anoichi Hashem Elokecha is just a fact. So, because clearly, what do we think from here? That Amunah, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, that's Amunah. What's Amunah? That we believe that there's a God, we believe there's a commander. That's where it all starts. So Amunah is the preamble, is the foundation. Everything else, all the other Taryag mitzvahs, are built on that foundation, right? That's clear like day. Oh, we find the same thing like by Avodim, right? An Eved Kanani. How are you kain an Eved Kanani? Kain Chazaka, right? Meaning, you can have an Eved Kanani that's working for 20 years, tying the master's shoe or carrying stuff for the master, but that's just a continuation of a situation. He is under the dominion, he is under the servitude of the master. But then, someone who wants to become an Eved Kanani, what does he do? He does an act of chazaka, which is really just doing the same thing, tying the master's shoe, but that act of chazaka is what actually makes him into a servant. That is the one that establishes the relationship that there is a master and that there is a slave, right? So the same thing by Klal Yisrael, right? There is the avoida of all the other mitzvahs, where we're doing it because we are in servitude, because we are under the dominion of the Rabbi Shalom. And then there's the avoida of Amunah. The avoida of Amunah that's the avoida to establish the fact that we are avodim, that we are slaves, that we are in bondage, that we are in servitude, right? Right? So just like we find by a Jew that serves his master, an individual, there are two types of avoida. There's avoida that he does because he's in the servitude of Rabbi Shalom. That's all the Taryag mitzvahs. There's also an avoida of Amunah that establishes the fact that he's establishing the fact that he is a slave. This is what establishes the fact of the relationship between him and the Rabbi Shalom. So also it's a Klal Yisrael, there are two types of avoida, right? There's the avoida that the Klal Yisrael does because they are under servitude, and there's the avoida that Klal Yisrael does to establish the fact that they are slaves, right? What is that avoida? What avoida do we do to establish the fact that we are slaves? That avoida is called Pesach. The avoida that sets up the scenario that we are avodim is avoida of Pesach. Pesach is the avoida of Amunah. Like we know, in all Zohar is filled with it, that matzah is called the bread of Amunah, and we say, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha asher tzeitzicha me'eretz Mitzrayim. Kili b'nei Yisrael avodim asher tzeitzi oitzah me'eretz Mitzrayim. We see clearly the connection between Amunah and Yetzias Mitzrayim, because this is what establishes Yetzias Mitzrayim, and the Avoida Pesach establishes the relationship. It establishes that we are slaves, right? So just like it comes out that Yetzias Mitzrayim and Pesach is what is establishing, is what's giving us the appellation Eved Hashem, a servant of Hashem. Now, and just like when you have Amunah, you believe in the Rabbi Shalom. You believe that there's a commander. It could be you don't know exactly yet what the commandments will be. But you first establish the fact there is a commander, I have to listen. Later on, we will find out what has to be done, what the commander wants, right? Also by Yetzias Mitzrayim, what does Moshe Rabbeinu say? Right? So also Yetzias Mitzrayim, we don't know exactly what will happen, what God will command us. But by Yetzias Mitzrayim, we did set up the facts that now we are considered an Eved Hashem, right? So basically, Yetzias Mitzrayim is, we're establishing that there is a commander and we have to listen to him. Matan Torah is the what? Is the what? So the Yetzias Mitzrayim is the why. And the why? Because we are Eved Hashem. 50 days later, we got the what. What does the commander want us to do? Okay. So this is the reason why Pesach is called Avoida. Just called Avoida. For example, like we said, you're seeing an Eved Kanani, you see two Evet Kanainis doing work. Two of them are carrying stuff for the master. They look exactly the same. But for one of them has been doing it for the last 20 years. And one of them, this is the first time he's doing it. So from the outside, it looks exactly the same. But there's an essential difference. The one who's doing it for the last 20 years, he's not at that point establishing the fact that he is a slave. He's been a slave for the last 20 years. He's just doing the regular service that he has to do for his master because he's a slave. But the one who's doing it for the first time, he's now establishing the fact that he is a slave, and that from now on, whatever the master will command him, he'll have to do. So from the outside, it looks exactly the same. This guy's tying the master's shoe, this guy's tying the master's shoe. But essentially, there's a major difference between them. One of them is just doing it because he is a slave, and it's not really setting up any contractual agreement. One of them is doing it the first time. He is establishing the fact at this point that he is a slave, and that from now on, he will have to listen to whatever the master would tell him, right? Oh, and that's exactly what is Leil Seder of Pesach. The Leil Seder of Pesach, there's many mitzvahs we do, 613. But the Avoida that we do on Leil Seder Pesach is establishing the fact that we are considered Eved Hashem. The Avoida we do on Leil Seder is Avoida V'Munah, which is the Avoida that's establishing that yes, we are Avodah to Hashem, and henceforth, whatever the Baruch Shalom tells us to do, we'll have to do, even if we don't know what it is. Just like in Mitzrayim, we didn't know exactly what we'd be commanded on until Matan Torah. So that's why when we come to Pesach, the Torah calls it just Avoida, because this is the mitzvahs that we do, or the ceremony we do, to establish the fact that from now on, we are Avdei Hashem. So it gets the appellation of Avoida, because from here on in, now we will have to serve the Rebbeinu Shalom. So Pesach basically encompasses all Taryag mitzvahs. Why? Because it's the prerequisite, it's the preamble, it's the foundation. So that's why the only Avoida in the Torah that's called just Avoida is Pesach. But to get a better handle on this, we know that there's something called Torah and mitzvahs, and we know there's something called Dimiricious. You know, right? You know, where you're gonna live, what college courses you're gonna take, where you go to college. You know, what are you gonna eat for supper? There's a whole genre, there's a whole part of our life that's called Dimiricious, right? And we know that there's a mitzvah called B'chol Dorchecha De'ehu. In all your ways, you have to acknowledge God. She'ekol Masecha L'Shem Shemaim. All your ma'asim should be Shem Shemaim. So, the real understanding is, the immature understanding of this is that, okay, there's Taryag mitzvahs. It's like a building. You have a building, you have a first floor and a second floor. Right? If you have the first floor, and if you have extra money, and things are going good for you, you'll add on another floor. Right? So we think the same thing. We think there's Torah and mitzvahs. That's what you got to do. And B'chol Dorchecha De'ehu is like, and all your ways you should know the Rebbeinu Shalom she'ekol Masech Shemaim. We think it's like extra credit. It's like a second floor. It's like, if you want, it's a nice thing. You got what you have to do, what you must do. That's the first floor. That's the Taryag mitzvahs. And if you're like a real tzaddik, you'll do extra credit. You'll do it on the second floor. During your Dimiricious time, you'll also decide to dedicate it to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's the way people would understand it, right? But we want to explain that this is a mistake. That that people think that like there's Averis, can't do, mitzvahs, you must do, and then there's some type of like void or gray area. It's autonomous. You do what you want. If you want, you can dedicate it to the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's a nice thing. If you don't want, you don't have to. It's like an extra credit, like Rishus, but that's a mistake. And the truth is, it's just the opposite. B'chol Dorchecha De'ehu is the foundation, and the Taryag mitzvah is actually the second floor. What do I mean by this? So first we have to understand there's no concept as a Jew that there's like, you got to do mitzvahs that you got to do. Aveiros you can't do. And then there's a void. Gray area. You know, God doesn't care so much. Extra credit. There's autonomy, independence. There's no such thing like that. In Judaism, there's no such thing like that. There's no such thing like a shetach halak, or a void, or some type of vacant area that God doesn't care about. Autonomy, do what you want. It'd be nice for you to dedicate it to me. There's no such thing like that. There's no such thing in a Jew, an area of his life where there's independence and you can do what you want. Every second of a Jew's life has to be dedicated to the Avoida Shalom, right? We'll see. So what's the difference? If you're saying that, Rabbi, fine. So what's the difference? So what's the difference between Dimiricious and Divrei Mitzvah and Aveira? The only difference is, by a mitzvah, you know right away this is what God wants. By Aveira, you know right away God does not want. When we say Dimiricious, what we mean is it's not so clear right away how will it play out. Will it play out for something that God does want, or will it play out something that God doesn't want? Meaning, for Divrei Mitzvah and Aveira, it's obvious. In Dimiricious, it is not manifest right. It's not apparent right away. For example, so you're going to college. You could take this job, or this course, or that course. They're both okay. Doesn't seem you could take this position, that position, or this major, that major. Yeah, but if you take one major, eventually you'll become so involved in it that it will consume most of your life. You'll become totally consumed by it, and you'll have no time to learn, you'll be under crazy pressure. Or you can take a different major that maybe won't make that much money, maybe it'll make the same amount of money. But the point is, it will give you more freedom to be who you want to be, or to spend more time in learning Torah with your family, whatever it may be. So initially, when you look at both majors, they're both okay. Both possibilities are okay. But eventually, you can figure out what was the wrong choice and what was the right choice, right? Same thing. You know, what should you eat for supper, right? So, you know, it depends. You know, you'll eat a big meal. If that big meal at the end of great. Well, if because you ate the big meal, now you're able to learn better, that was the right thing to do. If because you ate that big meal, now you feel so satiated, now you want to go out and party, or whatever it is, or whatever it causes you to sleep more, or whatever it may be, then it wasn't the right thing. So in that same thing, Dimiricious just means you don't know right away what is going to be the apparent manifestation. And it's very individualistic, but each person has to try to figure out what will be the best thing for me to do in this Dimiricious time that will bring about a Kvod Shemaim, right? But there is no concept of a vacant spot or a void, or that God doesn't care about, or we have autonomy or independence, we can do what we want. Right. Now, the whole reason why you would make the mistake and think B'chol drachecha de'eyu is like extra credit, that is a common way to think about it. B'chol drachecha de'eyu, it's extra credit, yes, very nice, and we should do everything for as much as possible, even in our downtime, or even in the Dimiricious, we should try to dedicate some of it to God. Why would we think that would be an extra credit? Is because if you look at your relationship to Avoida Shalom, it's like we're a worker or meshubed. So we look at it like, okay, we're a worker for God. You know, put in your 8 hours, or you have meshibud, you have some responsibilities. So you have a shibud, you have some responsibilities. Okay, I did my job. Now I got my own time, right? Wow, if I want to put in more time to serve God, I get paid time and a half. Wow, because I'm doing extra credit. If that's the way you look at it, then you're right. There's Asur, Mitzvah, Aveira, and then there's gray area, right? That's if you look at yourself, your relationship with God, as if you're a worker, a poyel, or you're a meshubed. But the mistake is, B'chol drachecha de'eyu is actually telling us something else entirely. It's trying to tell us that we're not a worker by God. We're not meshubed to God. We are avodim. We are like an Eved Kanani to God, right? What is the law by an Eved Kanani? An Eved Kanani is totally owned by his master. It's a 24/7 position, right? Anything Eved Kanani works, right? Anything that Eved Kanani finds goes to the master. Ein yad le'eved. An Eved has no ability to acquire anything for himself because there is no concept of himself. He is always under the dominion of his master. Ein kinyan v'loi rabbi, right? Ein lo yad la'atzmai. So, and an Eved has no time for himself. There's no concept by an Eved time for himself. So, the mitzvah of kol derchecha de'eyu, kol masechet de'shemayim, is establishing this fact. We are not working for God as a worker. We're Eved to God. And once you're an Eved to God, there's no concept, there's some free area, there's some free time, there's some autonomy, some independence that we could do what we want. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because we are an Eved. If we're an Eved, that means we're 24/7 on a job. So, like I said, so what does Dimiricious? Dimiricious just means, all Dimiricious means is you have to decide what is the best thing to do because it's not so apparent what is the best thing to do. Because it's like I said, it's not clear right away what God would want or not want. You have to try to figure that out. And therefore there is some leeway. By mitzvah, there's no leeway. You got to eat matzah and shake a lulav. Aveira, there's no leeway. You can't eat chazer. By Dimiricious, there is leeway in the sense that you have to make the best assessment what is best for you in your life that could be used to manifest Kvod Shemayim. And since it's so individualistic, a guy says, someone told you, he wants to work because he wants a Rolex. Fine, you want a Rolex, that may be good. That may be something you need. That may be something that you need to give yourself self-esteem, and then you'll become a community leader, and then you'll change the world and set up many organizations to help Jews. Fine, that's what you need. And that's a Dimiricious. And another person just wants the Rolex just to feel that he's better than everyone else. And so that's not a good thing. So it's very individualistic. So that's why we have the area called Dimiricious. So that's bidiyuk what we're doing by Leil Seder. By Leil Seder, we are establishing Kili B'nei Yisrael Avodim. We are establishing the fact that we are Avodim of the Rabbi Shalom. Not a worker, not a shibud, right? And just like we said, by the Eved Kanani, the first time he does the Avoida, the first time he does something and becomes an Eved, he doesn't know exactly what the commander or what the master will tell him to do in the future. But he knows one thing. That first time when the Kiddush Chazaka happens, that first time when he ties the shoe, he knows that that's it. He's under the dominion of the master. He doesn't know what the master will tell him to do, but he knows one thing. He has no more independence. He has no more autonomy. That much he knows. Same thing when we do the Avoida of Pesach night, we don't know exactly what's going to happen in Matan Torah. We don't know exactly what the Rebbe is going to tell us. We know now, but then they didn't know. But one thing we do know is there is no autonomy, there's no independence, and now 24/7 we are now under the dominion of the Rebbe Shalom, the Ein Lanu Rishus Latzmeinu at all. And we have no kinyan, we have no yad, below rabbi. So now according to this, it comes out that when I told you before, B'chol derchecha de'eyu is like the second floor, is like the extra credit, is like, after you have enough money, you have the second floor. It's just the opposite. B'chol derchecha de'eyu is the bottom floor. That is the main floor in a Jew's life. The main floor of Jew's life is we are Avdei Hashem. Kol Masech L'Shem Shemayim. Kol Masech L'Shem Shemayim is basically the same thing as saying we have no independence. We are totally under the dominion, or we're totally in the Rishus, in the domain of the Rebbeinu Shalom. The second floor is the Taryag Mitzvahs. The first floor establishes the facts. What's the facts? We are servants of the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's it. We have no Rishus Latzmeinu. The second floor is, okay, now that we are under the dominion of the Rebbeinu Shalom, what does the Rebbeinu Shalom want us to do? That's the second floor, the Taryag Mitzvahs. But before we have the Taryag mitzvahs, in the second floor, we have to have the Chodechecha De'eu, the Chobasech L'Shem Shemayim, which basically means that we are avodim to the B'nai Shloim. That's the first floor. Okay? Fine. Now, all of this is only by Klal Yisrael. Only Klal Yisrael has this relationship. This relationship of being an Eved to the B'nai Shloim. A Goyim, their relationship to the B'nai Shloim is like a poil. It's like a worker, a shibud. Yeah, they have obligation to the B'nai Shloim. They have to do things for the B'nai, their responsibilities, but they are not considered an Eved. So for a Goy, it is proper to say that they have areas they have to do, mitzvahs, aveiros, and then they have a gray area where they're autonomous, they're independent, they can do what they want. That is true that by a Goy, there is that relationship to the B'nai Shloim. But for Klal Yisrael that went out of Yitzis Mitzrayim, that relationship doesn't exist. It's 24/7. No independence, no autonomy. Oh. So now we understand a little bit what Chizkiyahu HaMelech wanted. Chizkiyahu HaMelech said, please, Rabbi Shloim, heal me, because I, Kitay Beinecha Asisi, which means Smichas Gula Tefillah. Goyim also daven, right? Ki Beisi Tefillah L'Cholam, Goyim also daven. That's true. But when the Goyim daven, they're davening for themselves. Because since we explained that a poil is like, a Goy is like a worker, working for the B'nai Shloim, has certain responsibilities, but there's a whole area in his life he's independent, he's autonomous. So when the Goy davens, he's davening for himself. He's not davening for the B'nai Shloim. He wants this and he wants that. That's true. But when a Jew davens, what the Jew is really doing is he's really davening, whatever he wants, he's really davening for the B'nai Shloim. Right? There's a whole big brouhaha now. Does God need anything or not on the internet? Is the right to say that God needs and God doesn't need? But be it as it may, what we're trying to say is, when we're saying Gula Tefillah, we're saying, listen, we went out of Mitzrayim. That means we are avodim. If we are avodim, that means we have no independence. That means whatever we get is really belongs to the B'nai Shloim, right? So whatever we're davening for, we're basically saying, the B'nai Shloim, give it to us because it's like you're giving it to yourself. So every time you have Geula Tefillah, that's the message that we are basically portraying. That's the message that we're trying to give out. Whatever we're asking for is really for the B'nai Shloim. That is the concept of Smichas Geula Tefillah. We are Avodim, and since we're Avodim, whatever we're asking, we're really asking for you. And that is exactly what Chizkiyahu was saying. Chizkiyahu said, what was the pasuk that intimated this concept? He says, Kitov b'einecha asisi. Kitov b'einecha. Everything I did for your good. And the Gemara said that means smichas gula l'tefillah, because that's exactly the same thing. Whatever I did, whatever I have, whatever good I have, is for you. So that is with this koyach, Chizkiyahu HaMelech. With this koyach, Chizkiyahu HaMelech said to the B'nai Shloim, Kitay b'einecha asisi, because I was saying gula l'tefillah, therefore I have a special privilege to ask, Kitay b'einecha. I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for you. It's good for you. It's good for the B'nai Shloim. And this is our foundational belief and tenet of Emunah, that we are Eved. So you're walking away. Wow, this sounds very. This sounds like really heavy, right? That 24/7 we're Eved of Rabbi Shalom. So, and there is no Dimiricious. Dimiricious just really means a not manifest right away. Will it be good for our Avoida or not? And it's just a question of making the right choices. So it sounds very constricting. The truth is, anyone who knows who's a master who has an Eved Kanani, it would be foolish to work the Eved Kanani 24/7. Yeah, maybe the master could work the Eved Kanani 24/7, but at the end of the day, he won't be very productive. A good master makes sure that Eved Kanani has plenty of food, plenty of sleep, plenty of leisure time, because that way you're more productive. So this time we're going in downtime, and this we're going on vacation. It's not a vacation from God, it's a vacation for God. Right? None of this guilt feelings, I'm not doing my optimum. No, ridiculous. This is not a vacation from God, it's a vacation for God. That's exactly what we're doing. Yes, we're 24/7 in Rishus Rabbeinu, but this is Dimiricious. Bein Zmanim is Dimiricious par excellence. Yeah, it's free time, downtime, and the main thing is, but to use it, that when we come back next month, we come back fresh and invigorated. So what are you going to do, Bein Zmanim? You should learn the Ksais and the Akiva Eger. No, if you could, you could. I definitely don't think that's, at least not for me, that wouldn't be preppable. What should you do? Go to the beach, take out a good Jewish history book, learn about Jewish history, maybe read Navi a little bit, read. There's so much out there that you don't get in yeshivas. In regular yeshivas, you definitely don't get it. But even our snake, you get a little bit more about Jewish history and poetry, and there's so much you could read about. So you take that time and you use it. You use it constructively. Again, a vacation, not from God, a vacation for God. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.